Good afternoon, Betty, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon, Angela.
Your first question is about the ongoing perpetration of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity on the continent. Do you think that enough is being done at the regional level in pursuit of justice and accountability?
Broadly, I would say not enough is being done. There's been a lot of lip service paid to accountability for crimes such as those that you've described. Obviously, genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes are the most serious crimes known to humanity. I'm not sure that there has been much investigation to determine, one, whether in fact genocide has taken place since 1994, but certainly there have been many instances of crimes against humanity which are being committed on the continent within the context of internal armed conflicts that's taking place in several arenas of conflict, and war crimes too would have been committed. Angela, you know that many African countries have acceded and have ratified the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. Many of them also have domestic legislation that criminalizes acts of such as genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. But there's very little investigation and prosecution of these crimes at the domestic level. And I think that is a matter of great regret. That this is happening, because one of the things that we all know is that the ICC, for example, was not supposed to come and supplant national jurisdictions or domestic courts, but was going to complement those domestic mechanisms to prosecute these crimes. So it is regrettable that in fact not much is being done.
Speaking of domestic jurisdictions,
Yes.
What can we do to strengthen these domestic jurisdictions so that we can have justice and accountability for these crimes?
Well, the first thing is to obey our own constitutions, to create laws that hold perpetrators of these most heinous crimes accountable, to strengthen our own ability to investigate and prosecute. This means we must have competent criminal justice institutions. A lot of those criminal justice institutions actually do need to be reformed to be able to meet the challenges that are required in terms of investigating and prosecuting crimes of an international nature. Beginning place, obviously, is to domesticate, to have implementing legislation for the Rome Statute if one is a state party to the Rome Statute. But one does not even need to be a state party. These are crimes that are part of customary international law. And so therefore, I think every state has a responsibility to protect its citizens and to ensure that these crimes are not committed. So yes, we need to strengthen the criminal justice institutions. We need to strengthen our laws, and we need to strengthen respect for the rule of law in our various countries on the continent.
I want to stick with the domestic justice theme and turn your attention to Kenya. Do you think Kenya should have established an international organized crimes division?
At the time when the International Crimes Division was being contemplated in Kenya, we had lots of incidences of terrorism, there was piracy, there was a lot of drug-related offenses being committed, which involved international criminal networks, and I think that was something that was considered. But Kenya has, within its laws, has domesticated the ICC statute. We have the International Crimes Bill 2008, which is effective, which is our domestic law. So strictly speaking, Kenya does not need an international crimes division to investigate and prosecute crimes of an international nature. But obviously having a division of the High Court specifically dedicated to international crimes would have been an excellent idea in terms of focusing attention on those types of crimes, which obviously, as you know, there were allegations that crimes of an international nature had been committed when we had internal election-related violence in 2007 and 2008. We have had crimes of terrorism. We have had crimes of organized crimes relating to drugs and relating to poaching. So an international crimes division would have focused attention of the prosecutors and investigators. I think that would probably have been a good thing. But the fact that it does not exist is no excuse for not investigating and prosecuting those crimes.
As a group, women are not inherently vulnerable. Mm-hmm. You do not become vulnerable because of your sex, because you're a woman.
And in these crimes, we also see that women and children are the vulnerable groups that are most badly affected by mass atrocities. Mm-hmm. What can lawmakers, leaders, and policymakers do to ensure that there is justice and accountability for these crimes against women and children?
You're absolutely correct, because one of the things that happens is that obviously the crimes that are committed against women, especially crimes of sexual violence, crimes related to abductions, enslavement, all those types of crimes are never investigated in real time, and so therefore they also suffer delays in prosecutions. The other problem that we have had is that crimes that are committed against women in particular, and children also, are often mischaracterized. Even after the Rome Statute, you still have crimes of sexual violence, crimes of torture, crimes of rape being mischaracterized as crimes against the honor of women and so on. And so you find that is reflected in how some of these crimes are charged under national laws. The advances of the Rome Statute, for example, and for example also in Kenya the International Crimes Law of 2008, is that it also pays special attention to the rights of victims and the participation of victims. That is an important advance. It talks about how victims may participate, not just in the trials, but also in schemes of reparations. And this is another area, I think, where attention to crimes that are committed against the most vulnerable groups during situations of internal armed conflict, but also just during situations of unrest, where you find lots of gang rapes happening, lots of children being conscripted, for example, into fighting forces, lots of women and children. As you know, they are the majority also who seek refuge when there's problem in any country. They're the first to become refugees and to become internally displaced. So all those gender-related crimes have the possibility of being addressed under domestic laws, but also the reparations aspects of these laws need to be activated so that there is some justice that some of these groups can eventually get. Justice, as you know, means different things to different people. There's justice, retributive justice, mm-hmm. but there's also reparatory justice, yes. Which is important for the types of crimes that particularly women and girls and boys and children suffer during situations of internal armed conflict.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.